Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for listening and watching this session, which is part of the LALA Stories evenings. Today, we will be speaking about topic of nightlife and night mayors with two special guests. One is Mirik Milan from Amsterdam. I hope now is in Amsterdam, and Martin Královič, who is in Bratislava now. And I'm Michal Sládek. I will try to guide you through this discussion. And please don't hesitate to write any questions in the social media available around, like in the Facebook chat. And we will later on in the discussion look at your questions and try to answer them. So we will start talking about nightlife with the obvious story that we are in the situation that basically all the nightlife has stopped all over Europe. And we are just basically waiting for change or waiting for something to happen. And from very few news that are coming to us from abroad, we have seen troubling images of young people rioting and gathering in Netherlands as a protest against the measures that have been taken, as a protest against anti-COVID measures. And also recently, we heard that the test event that should have been held with a capacity of 10,000 people was cancelled due to security reasons, where the police reported that there were some signs of possible troubles. So, Mirik, please, can you help us understand what's going on in Netherlands currently and what is the situation?
Yeah, for sure. No, so as being my background is being a club promoter and organizing parties all of my working life, festivals, etc. So I really miss the nightlife dearly. It's a place which is very close to my heart, and where there's all forms of expression, and there's many marginalized communities found avenues of expression in nightlife, and that is something which is super important for a city and for the identity of Amsterdam. The reason why we had some riots, that was now 3 months ago, was that for the first time after the Second World War, so more than 75 years ago now, we had a curfew. And the curfew stated that everybody had to be indoors about 9 p.m. And I think what happened is that so many youngsters and so many people, they were so fed up with already 1 year of lockdown, not lockdown, but lockdown, of the things being closed, of nothing happening. And then on top having this curfew, I think people were also just bored, and they were out for making trouble. They there's no football matches, there is no festivals, there's nothing happening, and that's why people were really, really angry, and that's why that it was an expression of their at their feelings at that moment. But I also think it's important to state that if the government doesn't understand that these feelings are happening in society, then they're also not really in check with what is happening. So the curfew, but the good news out of this all is that tonight was announced that the curfew of 9 p.m. will be taken away from the 28th of April. But the interesting thing is that there's now actually more infection than in January when it was installed. So that's so weird about this curfew. I personally, I don't believe in a curfew. I think that people who wants to meet will meet anyway, and that it's not really controlling the virus, in my opinion. But I understand that with these measurements you can control it more. So yeah, a combination of not being heard and on the other hand also being bored.
Yeah, but also it can be seen that it's proving the importance of nightlife in a way.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, so it really like, like how we approach it, or how I approached it when it was the Night Mayor of Amsterdam, is that the night is a place for personal and personal and also business growth. It's a place where a lot of talent development is happening for the creative industries, photographers, filmmakers, DJs, VJs, of course, production management, stage design. All these talents are developed at night and in nightlife venues, and this is really makes a city attractive, and it really positions a city as a cultural and a vibrant place, and that is so important for the local economy. It drives jobs, not only in creative industries but in all segments, all below. And you can see that a vibrant city is a place where a lot of talent wants to live and people want to work, and therefore it should be recognized for its value, because so often the night is being demonized. Like more than 2,000 years, the night is being demonized for being the bad thing, the bad part of the day, instead of embracing it and seeing it for the value that it actually brings, and the economic and social cultural impact that it has.
Yeah, thank you for this. But let's turn on Martin. What is the situation in Bratislava? We have a curfew from 8 o'clock in the afternoon. So even earlier, but we who follow the measures are staying home. We don't know what's actually happening in the city. Do we, or do you know something about some, I don't know, secret parties or bars secretly open, or what is the situation in Bratislava?
I know all the secret parties in Bratislava because maybe my approach or my beginner's approach to the nightlife management is a little bit more from the view of the safety, or of the crowd safety and security. So which doesn't mean that I think that everything can be solved, and every solution for every problem is the policing, because it's not true. It doesn't work in that way. But now in Bratislava, as you said, Michal, there is a curfew from 8 p.m. till 5 in the morning. So there is no way about talking about the nightlife or the nightlife in Bratislava nowadays. Sometimes there are some information about we call it the prohibition parties, or the illegal parties in some Airbnb flats and apartments and so on. I don't think these illegal parties, or sometimes illegally opened to bars and restaurants are the right way how to deal with the COVID situation in Slovakia now. The situation from the pandemic view is getting better each day and each week, and my expectation of many people working on the COVID restrictions is that we are going to open the outdoor seating, because we need to start with the outdoor seatings. We are going to open them in 1 or 2 weeks. So everybody, including the residents, the citizens of the city, the party goers, and also the owners of the clubs, of the restaurants and everything, are preparing to start it in 1 or 2 weeks. So we are getting prepared for it, and trying to avoid or prevent all the illegal happenings in the center of city as much as possible, because we don't think that it's so healthy, and it's so very helpful for reopening of the businesses.
I will continue on that. You mentioned that you're Night Mayor beginner. Actually, you entered in this position during the pandemic, so people might think, what was the idea behind when the nightlife was basically cancelled and are on the standstill, and Bratislava opened this position during this time, and basically your tasks will be more about reopening than actually solving the situation. Do you think that we will come back to the situation as it was, or it's an opportunity to set up with this new position in Bratislava a situation that will be different?
I'm optimist, and I hope that the nightlife and the life in Bratislava and in all other cities in the world will come to very similar state, very similar way as we knew it before COVID-19 has occurred in our countries. Maybe we will continue this new normal with some learnings from the COVID pandemic. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the disinfections and the proper ventilations in the clubs and in the venues will be something normal, which maybe hasn't been before. Maybe washing hands where many times during the day will be the new normal, or will be something normal to everybody now, hopefully. And but I think the nightlife and the life in the cities will not be so different when we compare it to the 2019 maybe, or something like that. And back to your question, Michal, if it's or what's the purpose of naming the Night Mayor during the pandemic, during the times when no nightlife is happening in Bratislava. I think it's I cannot say in the name of Matúš Valo, in the name of the mayor of the city, but I think it's still better to start working on the position of the Night Mayor during the pandemic, better than starting it a few months after coming back to the normal nightlife, because I think the reopening will be tough, will be big. I expect a lot of people, a lot of crowds celebrating the comeback of parties, of nightlife in Bratislava. So I take this time before reopening as a very useful and valuable time to prepare for it, to prepare for opening, to discuss the things with the club owners, with the businesses owners, also with the police. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but I am working as a Night Mayor, but also as a security and safety advisor to the mayor of Bratislava. So one of my biggest responsibilities is helping managing the municipal police of Bratislava, which is undertaking, or which is undergoing a big, really important change of mindset. Yeah, we are recreating the municipal police and trying to change the all structure and all mindset of the whole police in Bratislava. So this is one of my tasks, to prepare them, and together with the head of the municipal police to prepare them for the comeback of nightlife, and to be able to proper manage it without any military restrictions, or without any unnecessary enforcements.
Mirik, do you share this view that the comeback will bring some more people to the streets celebrating more than usually, and I know that you are already preparing for the reopening. You are part or involved in Vibe Lab that is undertaking a global nightlife recovery plan, which is a paper that is issued in chapters, as I understand. The first chapter is already available. And so how do you prepare, and what do you think personally how it will happen in from the perspective of people? Will they behave somehow differently?
So I think there are some interesting points that Martin raised, and I would like to talk about that a little bit when it comes to safety. We're releasing the global nighttime recovery plan. That is which you can find on nighttime.org. That is just a simple website where we write about everything about organizing the night. So if people are interested, they can definitely download there for free. It's the Global Nighttime Recovery Plan is a project where we work together with people from all over the world, bringing in best practices, how to better organize the night. It's a practical guide also with a lot of recommendations, how you can influence decision making in your city, arguments to talk to city councillors and talk to people like Martin or other people to hopefully influence them with the opportunities which are there. Of course, rapid testing is a very big point of what we're also advocating for. You mentioned at the beginning of the conversation that there was an event, and that's true, from 10,000 people that was supposed to happen on the 24th of April, so the coming weekend. It got cancelled. Due to there was the mayor was afraid for public distortion. How do you say that? Public interference. The main reason why people were so angry about this event is angry. I don't want to say it like this, but why there was a public outcry. It's not because they don't think a test event with 10,000 people is safe. Because let's be honest, if we do proper testing for going to an event, that is not less safe as what we have with international travel. You do a test, it's 27 hours, 72 hours. You go to an event and the whole virus spread over Europe from the UK again with the it spread because of this approach. So it's not less safe than the air travel, which is already happening. But the reason why people were so angry, because the hospitality, the bars, the restaurants, and the clubs, they're all closed already for the whole year. And now this field lab event is giving a license to a radio station to then host 10,000 people. Why didn't they give this opportunity to the restaurants and the bar owners to host 10,000 people? They are the ones which are very hurting in their economy. They hurt in their they are burning all their savings because their bars and restaurants are closed. Why does like a big commercial radio station have to host an event where they can sell alcohol and drinks and food to 10,000 people? So that was more one of the arguments why there was like a petition, and why now the mayor said, hey, I don't want to do this event. It doesn't feel right at this moment. I think the field lab events have shown that you can safely organize these kinds of events. We had already events with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, and there is no higher risk of getting infected on an event like this if everybody had like a test 72 hours in advance. So that's one thing. I think we can think of ways to safely reopen events, probably in small steps, of course, because we now the vaccines need to be taken, small steps to reopening. And of course, people will be super happy to be able to connect with their friends and their peers again. I think we are missing really that sense of belonging, that place where you like, I very much get my identity also from going out and being out. That's really who I am. That's what I've done always. And there's so many people that now don't have the possibility to work at the door, be a door host or be on stage or be somewhere in the nightlife scene, and of course also just going out and relaxing. I think the whole pandemic has shown us that human interaction and connection and skin hunger is something which is really real, not being able, that is really, so that's why we should also evaluate it a bit more. I wanted to really quickly come back, or not quickly, I want to come back to what Martin was saying about safety and about speaking to the police and trying to do this in a better way. One of our big accomplishments in my role as a night mayor was that we brought back alcohol-related violence by 20% and reports of nuisance by 28% in one district, in the nightlife district in Amsterdam. And the mayor of Amsterdam very much was really one of his passion projects. He thought, we need to improve the quality of life for the city residents. Bratislava also has this, historic city center where I expect there's a lot of a great nightlife, but also and tourism, and a lot of issues also with city residents that live there already for years and years. And the mayor really said we need to make it more safe, but we also need to make sure that it's still enjoyable. And what is interesting about this project is that the nightlife venues, they got extended opening hours, but they also had to chip in, they had to pay for extra safety measures and security measures, which was happening on the square. So there were square hosts that are non-official official intermediate, like social workers. They patrolled the street every Friday and Saturday night. They tried to calm down the situation if there was an issue. And we did a lot of other stuff, also looking at the lighting in the streets and a lot of other measurements. That was like a 360 approach. But what was interesting about this approach is that it's not really often police or governments, they say, if there's an issue at night, they say, well, we have to stop this now. And instead of coming with a solution, saying, okay, we have a problem, let's bring all the stakeholders together and let's try to make sure that we have, let's try to make sure that we improve the situation. And I think it's really the responsibility of the city to take care of its citizens, of all citizens, not only the city resident groups that don't want nightlife, but to take care of everyone. And also invest in it. If the city benefits from the commercial and the tourism money that comes in, they also need to invest back into the community and saying, hey, we can do these measurements, we can, do participatory policy making, we can do stuff that improves the quality of life without shutting down nightlife, because that's not the solution. The solution is, the wider opening hours also have led, I don't know what the curfew normal is for bars to close in Bratislava, but in Amsterdam, if the curfew is 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and they close all the bars at the same time, then everybody will spill out onto the streets all at the same time. And that's when it becomes, that's not manageable anymore. So it's becoming a little bit dark here because it's near 8 p.m. But I'm not vanishing in the night, and we'll just continue talking. But no, it's really about having longer opening hours will lead to more that people will leave also in smaller groups, and when they're leaving in smaller groups, it's better manageable. And then it's also when people less bump into each other in the street, there's also less conflict. It's a very normal cycle. And on the Rembrandtplein, the square where we had this approach, it worked really effectively to have this 360 approach. But more on the outskirts of the city, more the bigger nightlife venues, we introduced 24-hour licensed venues. These are venues that have which are multidisciplinary, so a little town in the city. So bar, gallery, co-working space, of course, raving nightclub. And those are more on the outskirts of the city, and they have a 24-hour opening. There are now 15 of these licenses being given out. but we're not just giving them out to everyone. It's really like it's a tender, so people have to apply for this license, doing something special, doing something that adds to the cultural value of Amsterdam, to the cultural offering. My apologies, to the cultural offering, that have a good program, that not just a rental space, but people that program the evening themselves too, because we want to be able to program the city. We want to think about, like, our inner cities are so busy and so crowded that we need to think about, okay, what kind of entertainment, what kind of culture, nightlife culture, do we want to have in the city? And music festivals are a really great example of how, of course, how they can be a vehicle for area development, or vehicle for economic growth. And that's really what I also hope, Martin. Sorry, I'm talking too long, but that's really also what I hope, Martin, is that you can advocate for, is saying, it's not always about closing earlier and making sure that people are in bed. It's also about spreading people out over the night and coming up with progressive policies that can actually improve the nightlife scene, instead of just breaking it down.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because for us it seems very it seems surprising. So you said 15 licenses, it means 15.
Yeah, 15.
15. So there are 15 places when the people like me, who can have a taste for a beer at 7 o'clock a.m., and find the bar which is open and will serve him.
Well, of course. So the 24-hour license is not like 7 days a week, 24/7. They have the ability to open and close whenever they want. But what happens is, yes, of course, there are nights, like special nights, that will run maybe for 2 days. That is possible, so they can continue into the next day, same as clubs in Berlin can, or in Kiev, or in other places around the world. And so that is definitely something which is happening. It's because, like, running for 24/7 is not a commercial. It's not a thing you do only for commercial interest. You do it for a certain vibe, for something special, a bit anarchistic, of course. You do it for a special reason. And what was really special about this project is that we only gave licenses to venues that were really doing something new. So they have multidisciplinary, not just a regular, really something special. That's.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, they can choose what is the event like, and if they want, they can run a 3-day festival in their venue inside the city.
Yeah, and really
they can do the proper programming and
during Amsterdam Dance Event, or King's Day, or New Year's Eve. If they want to continue the whole night, then they can do that. But really often, it's just really often what you see is that a night is not over at 4 a.m. or 5. I don't know what's the curfew for clubs in Bratislava.
Yeah, it depends, but it starts like from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah. So really often, the night is not done at 4 a.m. or 2 a.m. Yeah. And if you then have to say, okay, we have to shut it down, the lights go on, everybody's pushed outside really quickly, because of course, everybody wants to enjoy the night as long as possible. And then suddenly you're dancing and you're flirting and you're having a great time. And then suddenly you're outside. It's taxis. I don't know if we have trams, but we have, of course, bicycles everywhere. And people get stressed, and that's where you get a lot of issues and social behavior and public urination, because there's no options, there's no toilets around, there's bad lighting, or intense lighting, and that's what creates a lot of stress. And we have to change the mindset and think about other ways how we can approach can approach the night. And the results in Amsterdam have been really significant.
So let's turn focus on Bratislava. Maybe it's too far away from the situation which we are now living in. But when you started this position and you talked to Mayor of Bratislava, are there any ideas already for this kind of? Because usually, and also the project that Mirik was talking about, it's a square in the city. It's a place where the stakeholders are closer to each other, and they can share, for example, the costs or some interest in the place around. And when I'm thinking about Bratislava, I'm not really sure if I can find in my mind some places where more clubs or more nightlife is coming together. And I don't know, have you been talking to some people about where this can pop or be, where this kind of nightlife can happen, where maybe the curfew will be much longer than it's now, because it's really hard to find a simple bar open to have a beer after the club is closed, just to sit and continue the night.
Yeah, maybe in the case of Bratislava, it's not the square. It's probably the, let's say, very famous street in Bratislava. It's the Obchodná street, or when we try to translate it in English, it's the shopping street. We had the very unique name, of course. It's the very specific street in Bratislava which is also very dominant in the day life, because it's there is a specific group of people, mainly elderly people, which are used to go shopping at this street. But also there are a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants, a lot of businesses involved in the nightlife. And this place or this area is very, very often visited, not by tourists, by foreign tourists, but by citizens of Bratislava. And one of the times in the day or in the week where there are safety problems or safety issues is when the daily visitors or day visitors clash with the night visitors. So it's mainly like in the Thursday and Friday evening or afternoons and early evenings, or maybe at the Saturday mornings, early mornings, when the neighbors and the residents are used to go to the market, to the fresh market, to enjoy shopping of the vegetables and everything, and the whole street is let's say devastated or a little bit damaged after the Friday night and everything. So these are where the daily groups and night groups clash together, and they're totally different worlds clash together. It's one of the points where there are bad feelings occurring and the safety issues. I really agree with what Mirik said about the opening times of the businesses. I totally agree. The solution for the proper nightlife management is not shortening the opening hours of the businesses, because the majority of the safety and security issues in the public space or in the night Bratislava are occurring not inside the clubs and inside the businesses, but they occur as soon as the visitors and the party goers left the venues and enter the public space, the streets and the square and so on. So I really agree. But I see also one advantage from the point of the public safety. When the people are out at the streets, we can we have a better situation awareness of what's going on in the city, because we see all of them on the street. We also have the mobile social workers team in the city, which are focusing on the young people and young people using drugs and alcohol. So yeah, we have better overview of the situation when we see them outside. But of course, these are the situations where residents and citizens of the living in the neighborhood are starting to call the police and starting to be angry about the noise and everything. So yes, managing people inside the venues and giving them enough time and enough space to spend an evening and the night in the safe environment is, I think, is the solution for one of the solutions for the nighttime.
Like I think it's quite interesting what you're saying, because that you see that happening in a lot of cities around the world, where there is an issue that is not actually directly related to nightlife, but is a response or is something that comes from it, that then leads to the night or the nightlife scene being placed in bad daylight or nightlife, because and I think that's why it's important to work together with the night operators to also incentivize them, So for the city residents, it's they hate it when they go to the market and there's glass everywhere and there's beer on the street and that's sticky and I don't know and all these things. But what is needed for the night operators to say, well, we together as a collective, we will clean the street at the end of the night. Everybody does like 50 meters around their club or 100 meters, whatnot. And we clean that space. But in return, we are incentivized to do something, whether this is like an extra hour, whether this is like, 5 times a year, you can go longer or you have an opening hours, a little bit longer. So what can you do in a smart way that incentivizes night operators to be good neighbors, basically? And that's what we need to, like many of the policies that I see all over the world, whether this is in New York, the Netherlands, but also in Asia, many of the policies for nightlife are more than 100 years old. They were created, when we didn't even know what the notion of a nightclub was. And really often, and that's something, that's why it's so good that somebody like you is there that has a lot of experience with festivals, and that knows the scene and knows what the needs are, that we can update and also improve and innovate the policies which are out there. And of course, these are long, slow processes, but we need to start to have those conversations now to be able to create that change on the long term.
Yeah. I will now make a little transition, maybe into next my other question, but I would like to remind the audience, feel free to ask if you have something in your mind, because also we are in the second half of our discussion today, so don't hesitate to write. But Martin, you mentioned Obchodná Street, where I used to live for a couple of years. And so I was in the position of resident, but also very much of the nightlife participant. It was great.
A very specific group. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was good because when I was throwing a party in my apartment, I didn't feel too bad about the environment because, it was quite vibrant. And I loved about it what you said exactly. It's very good when a place in the city has this day life and nightlife, which I think it's very important to make a vibrant places. So the two things are actually not against each other, but they are perfectly making the feeling of the place more lively. So, but what I perceived living there, what the group of people coming to Obchodná were younger than usually the clubs I was visiting, and when returning home, there were much less people on the street because the younger people usually are leaving a bit sooner than the older, but than older night crawlers. But these are just my impressions. So, and I would like to come to another topic, which is the data. Mirik, you're also working in collection of data about nightlife, and Martin, you are also in your career, you're involved in the control room setup, and also like seeing, and we talked together about it, what we can see if we are supervising an area, and how to come up with the information. And so I would like to come to this next topic about data. What do you think can be today used, collected, and how it can help a better management of the night in the city, or in the city overall? Mirik, can you introduce it a little bit in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, I would like to make a statement. And that is that cities, governments, big companies are becoming more and more data hungry, and everybody wants to collect data for their benefit. Let's be honest about that. Data is often collected for a certain benefit. The question is what you do with the data. Now, I think that, and that's also something we will publish a piece about soon, collecting data of visitors in the night, and collecting data of people that go out, where they're going, who they're meeting with, etc., etc. I don't think that's the way forward. We will not make our venues more safer when we are collecting a lot of data and giving this to companies or giving this to governments. I think the night is a place where you have the ability to feel free, where the banker should be able to dance next to the queer person, should be able to dance next to or go wild next to the politician. There is a sense of anonymity, and that is really what I think is very precious. And we should not forget that this is also why nightlife actually started, for people, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, marginalized communities were searching for avenues of expression and people to be themselves. So that is what I think is really important, that we have to keep in mind, or we personally will be fighting for, that the solution is vaccination, the solution is other rules, but the solution is not just blindly saying, okay, just give us your data and we will take care of it, because time and time again it has been shown that it's very difficult for companies to protect the data in the right way, or not use it just on their own advantage. So that's a little bit of a starting statement. I hope that's okay. And Martin, I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback. What we do with data is we try to empower nightlife scenes around the world with the data that we collect. So what we have done, we created a study which is called the Creative Footprint. The Creative Footprint is a cultural cultural impact study. It calculates the impact on nightlife on the city. We have researched Berlin, New York, and Tokyo. Was a very large research. We researched in Tokyo more than 800 creative spaces and music venues all over Tokyo, and we went really deep into all the directions and all the music scenes. It's really a music study, so it's focused on creative space and music. And the Creative Footprint is a way to empower, to also inform city government about what kind of music venues are interesting and creating cultural offering that is relevant to the city. Way too often we think that nightlife is used for city development, for area development, that an incubator is placed, like a creative or cultural incubator is placed in a rundown area, and as soon as after 5 years or 3 years, when the ground prices go up, then the city takes over again, and the creators have to leave, and or the nightclub has to leave, and then they can develop the land. Because I think the business model of cities works against the creative nightlife scene, because the business model of a city is to develop the land, is to develop the ground. Because with that money, I understand that cities do a lot of good things with that money, and it's needed, but I think it's not the right structure. So what we always advocate for and lobby for, and why we do the research, is to empower people with the data that we gather of all these music venues. We show, we created this methodology together with a Harvard professor, and we're gathering a lot of data to objectively look at what kind of venues have a positive cultural impact on the city. And we are hoping to do one city or one or two cities every year, and then to also compare these cities with each other to see what was lost, to see. And definitely now with the pandemic, it's really important to see, the more venues and spaces there are, the more creators will be drawn to this city.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you to mention the proper use of data. I think it's very important, and I didn't, of course, mean the collecting the individual behavior. But as I understood it, it's important to have in hand an argument for the discussion, for the advocacy of the nightlife, and this research is giving a proof in the language some part of the city, like the city governments can understand, which means these are the benefits calculated in costs, in number of cultural events, in maybe number of visitors, that it's not about some young people going out at night, but it's a huge amount of people, and you can prove it with a solid argument. Martin, do we have this kind of overview about nightlife in Bratislava?
Before I answer your question, Michal, just when Mirik told about, if I got it right, about ensuring the privacy of the people and ensuring the privacy and the well-being and the privacy of people during their having fun during the night. It reminds me, Michal, our discussions with Michal Kaščák, the CEO of the Pohoda Festival, when we were talking about deploying the CCTV cameras to the festival and using them to increase the safety of people and so on. And I remember a lot of discussions and about this. And I think, Michal, you can prove me wrong, but I think we managed to find the way how the CCTV cameras can be used to help to increase the crowd safety, and also to not interfere with the privacy of the people, or to make them feel being watched or whatever. And it was simply done by adjusting the positions of the cameras and the heights of the cameras, so we didn't need it, and we don't need at the Pohoda Festival, we don't need to see the people's faces and identify the faces. We need to see the patterns in the crowd, the crowd pressures and the crowd surges and everything, all the necessary patterns in the crowd and densities and so on, but we don't need to see and identify the exact people. So I think it's very similar when we connect it to all other data used to manage or to improve the nightlife. We have, or my colleagues, before I have entered the cooperation with the city of Bratislava, my colleagues have done the research with the people attending the nightlife at Obchodná Street, and it was a combination of the questionnaire and the combination of semi-structured interviews with the young people, and this is very valuable valuable document which I am using often during the discussions with the nightlife stakeholders and the stakeholders of the life on Obchodná. But Michal, I'm not sure if I answered your question. Probably not.
Well, yes, because you said that city has collected some information about this particular place, maybe not overall about the overall situation. But we are coming towards the last 10 minutes for discussion. So I would like to leave the place for the questions of audience. And the first is the question about how is solved the problem with noise in Netherlands, a question of Mirik, because it seems to be one of the key problem that people experience in Bratislava, that the municipal police is called because of too much noise. So
Yeah, so a noise is or noise or sound, as I like to call it, is an issue that you have, of course, all over the world. There is no one silver bullet, there's not one solution that will change it all. But I think it's really important. So one of the things, of course, apart from having a multi-stakeholder approach and having better communication with your neighbors, because really often, it's like a door which is always open for maybe the staff to smoke a cigarette or to stand outside, or it's like a ventilation system. So around the world, there's different approaches how to deal with it. In Amsterdam, the focus is in Amsterdam, if you have a music venue, then it needs to be sound insulated. It's not possible to have a music venue where the neighbors can't sleep, because that's not realistic. So that's definitely what is happening in Amsterdam. But on the other hand, the biggest issue is often when the people leave. So that's why we have all these solutions. One of the things that we found out is that really often investment in sound systems can have a really good impact on what is the noise for the neighbors. It's possible to filter out, of course, below 50 hertz. That's a really good one for a bass noise. But also, it's also how speakers are being aimed in a venue or at the music festival. One of the big examples that we always look at, and what we're hopefully install in the future as well, is the soundproofing fund that the city of Berlin has at the moment. They have, I think they started with 1 million, but I think it's now 2 million euros every year in portions of 50,000 euros, where venue owners who have a venue that has at least a contract for 5 years or something can request a grant to do sound improvements. So that's either maybe changing the exit so making the exit on another side of the building. It's, of course, soundproofing a certain room. It's investing in the sound system that minimizes the bass tones. But it's really that's I think, a progressive approach where you can see, the city, and that's also with our square approach. The city should not only say, oh, here's an issue with sound. Operators deal with the residents and you figure it out. The city should step in and should say, okay, what can we do to improve the situation? What is our role in making sure that, it's a vibrant city, but also the city residents can sleep at night? Instead of always saying, well, yeah, that's just an issue between the two of you. And so really working together alongside both parties and also investing money also in the situation. That's really it's a difficult, sometimes it feels rocket science to a lot of city councillors, but it's actually what cities should do to have the most benefit of the nighttime economy and nightlife culture.
Thank you. This is a very good bridge for the next question, which is to Martin. What are the main responsibilities of the Night Mayor in Bratislava, and how is the position structured? Actually, do you have a team of people working with you?
My main role is to so obvious. It's to manage the nightlife, of course, but it's to how Mirik said many times to balance the requests and requirements and the rights of residents, of party goers or of visitors of the clubs, of the nightlife, and also the club owners. So it's creating discussion and facilitating their needs, their opinions, and their rights and their needs. So it's I think it's a little bit like a never-ending process of coordinating the residents, the visitors, and of course the police, because we want the police to change the approach. We want police to better understand the nightlife, to better understand the dynamics of the night crowd and everything. So I think this is one of my main responsibilities, and also bringing all the topics and all the issues which need to be solved by the city government or by the mayor, bringing them higher to the city council and to my colleagues at the city office and to the mayor. That's one of the reasons why I am also the night mayor and also his advisor for security and safety. So how I think we said it before the discussion was live, that I have every day I have the doors opened to the mayor of the city, and I can bring the topics and the issues anytime to him on the table to involve the city council, the city office into changing the regulation, the rules, or improving them. Also selecting how Mirik said, selecting some budgets for improving the nightlife. Yep. Basically.
Mhm.
Are you
Yeah,
also
Mhm.
are you also thinking of so how can people access you? So how are you speaking to people? Are you organizing public events where they can show what their issues or needs are? Or are you planning something like this? Because I think that will be really helpful. It's really having that open line of communication and that everybody always, when there's like when there's a topic relating nightlife culture, that they always know where to find you.
Yeah, of course we are planning to do this in the pandemic times. I'm I'm not approaching people on the street and trying to talk to them about nightlife, because they will probably send me really quickly, really somewhere. But however, of course, we for example we have when we talk about the Obchodná street, which is the front line of the nightlife in Bratislava. We have a special WhatsApp group, talking group with the local people from the local police, the local station on the Obchodná street, and also with the staff from the bars and restaurants at the Obchodná street, because we think we need to have very quick contact with them. So if they need anything regarding the nightlife, the some safety issues and anything, they don't need to call the police and then write an emails and everything. They have really quick touch with us, really quick way to how to reach our municipal police, how to reach me. And of course, after releasing of the COVID-19 restrictions, we are planning also to start some meetings and some trainings with the bar staff and the businesses staff to increase the conversation, but also to teach them how to de-escalate the conflicts in the bars, how to properly communicate with our social workers team, when to call them, and so on and so on. I need to stop because I see we are running out of the time here.
Yeah. Shortly we will have to end. So thank you for describing. I will just sum up shortly. You are an employee of city government of Bratislava, and basically the role is to advocate the needs, or being the connection person between the nightlife and the stakeholders and the mayor, but you are not directly involved in issuing rules or orders or any. You are not in the direct power, but you can suggest changes and new policies through this direct connection. And it will be very interesting to see how the how this new role will help Bratislava nightlife to come back to life. and I think it's very long-term position, and it won't be. I think to support you, it wouldn't be easy to see a direct outcome like in very short term, because of course these negotiations and these advocacy takes some time, and the people will not maybe see the direct changes, and so please don't give up. And there is also a question from the audience, but also my question to Mirik. Can you give us some last advices? What is the more important thing every city should develop so the nightlife can thrive? So a bit of condensed knowledge for the
So
for tonight.
Yeah, no. So I think the true meaning of nighttime governance is collaboration. It's really working together and coming together and discuss. It's really great that now Martin has the role within city government, but that doesn't mean that the nightlife scene should not organize itself. Because really often, the taxi industry is often better organized than the nightlife scene. And the nightlife scene has an impact on the city image. It has impact on the social, cultural, and economic aspect of the city. But everybody's just working on their own. And I think it's really important that the creative community comes together and self-organizes and speak with one voice towards somebody like Martin, who is clearly somebody who knows the scene already and knows what the needs are, but he can't do it by himself. So it's really important that people still come together, organize themselves, speak at one voice, and maybe there's a mix of interests, and you could never solve everything at one go, but always the goal is, if the nightlife improves step by step, then everyone will benefit on the long term.
So thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks to visitors for watching us tonight. Today it was more about nightlife than about music. Actually, we didn't talk about music at all, but I hope it was inspiring for you enough. For me, for sure, I've learned a lot. And tonight we had Martin Královič, the first Night Mayor of Bratislava, and Mirik Milan, the first Night Mayor of Amsterdam. And thanks to LALA to making these virtual connections, speaking about the times when we can sit in a club and talk about this topic in person. I think we are all looking towards it, and but the discussions like this are important to come there soon. So thank you very much once again, and good, and have a nice rest of tonight at home.
Thanks
Okay,
so much.
bye everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.